Now, because I've got gloved hands and they're already covered in powder, I'm not going to rub off any of that pattern with my gloves. It's going to work perfectly well. Trust me, I've done this before. Hey, welcome back to my channel. It's Wendy here from Toonpish Crafts, and I hope you're doing okay. Now, every now and then I mess around with colours and come up with something different. I do love messing around and making things up as I go along. It's just the way I am. I like creating something that's completely different. Now, I have come up with this technique, and I think I've put it in a video before, because I actually found it quite a long time ago, and we're talking a couple of years ago at least. I don't know whether I put it in a video or not. If you've seen it in one of my videos, can you let me know? Because I can't remember. Anyway, I thought I'd share this technique with you because I've got this beautiful bowl mould from Let's Resin, and I decided to use this, and I'm so blown away with the results. I hope you enjoy this video, and yeah, if you try this technique, have fun with it. Go for it. Experiment with it. I'm sure there can be a lot done with this. So this is the mould that I'm using from Let's Resin. It's their rather large bowl mould. Now, you may remember a little while ago I used a similar mould, not realising that Let's Resin actually sell one themselves. When I found out they sold one, I had to get it. This video is sponsored by Let's Resin, and I want to thank Let's Resin for sponsoring it. Now, as you can see, this mould was quite stuck together when it arrived in the post. They do go through quite a lot when they're in bags and arriving through the mail, but it came apart quite easily and it wasn't damaged at all. I'm showing you here that it has the number of fluid ounces on the side of the mould, and of course the Let's Resin name. That's to prove it is theirs. And I just thought I'd highlight them for you so that you could see for yourself that they're embedded in the moulds. I do like the fact that Let's Resin are now putting the fluid ounces on the moulds. It makes it so much easier. And this one is 11 fluid ounces. Perfect. Now, I do have a plan for this mould, so I'm going to turn it inside out to start with. I'm going to colour the inside of this mould, but just around the edge. And I'm going to grab some of Let's Resin's chrome powders in royal blue. This is a absolutely stunning colour. It comes from the chrome pack, and it's one of my favourites, and according to a lot of comments, other people actually really love this too. It's kind of a purple blue. It's really dark and really striking. I did start colouring with a rather large makeup brush, but I decided to go with my hands instead. And I wanted to get this done quite quickly because there was a lot to cover in this blue chrome powder. So I decided to do it with my hands. Now, I have done this before and I do find it really works well. You can really burnish that powder into a mould with a gloved hand. I do use vitriol gloves. They are good for resin and they do work really well with this method. I haven't tried vinyl gloves with this, mind you. Now, while I'm doing this, I'm actually leaning the mould on the mat, and the mat is a silicone mat. If you do this, don't lean it on the silicone mat because it can rub the colour off on the mat itself. I do realise that a bit later on, and I pick it up and do it in the air once I realise. So don't lean it on the mat. And obviously, if you are going to do this, be careful not to pour too much out of the jar in one go. Having not too much is far better than having far too much and it going everywhere. And it is quite risky because if you did pour out too much, Micah, you've lost it. So if you're worried about it, just use a brush. A brush is a lot safer. I just want to take this quick opportunity to say hello and welcome to all my new subscribers. And if you haven't subscribed already, maybe you would consider doing so. It doesn't cost a thing and it definitely helps my channel out. And a thumbs up is really appreciated. That shows YouTube that you like my content and will push it out so others can see it. And that helps me out too. If you have any questions or comments, please use the comment section below, and I always do my best to get back to comments. Once I've completely gone around the outside edges with the blue, I'm going around again to make sure I've got it nice and burnished into that mould. The shine of this chrome powder is amazing. You can see my reflection in it while I'm burnishing it into the mould. Another thing to mention is those legs in the bottom of the mould are really easy to hold on to if you do this. You've got a grip. It's a well-designed mould. Now, as I said earlier, this is the technique that I tried out quite some time ago, and I don't know if I put it in a video or not, but I've decided to feature it in this video. You basically crunch up sticky tape in your hand so that you have it in a different form. Parts of it sticky and parts of it are not, and it's all crunched up like a piece of tinfoil. And by touching on the surface where the mica powder is, it's going to take off some type of pattern, depending on how small your crunched up tape is, depending on how much you push on it. As long as your sticky tape is sticky enough, it will take it down to the silicone, and that will leave room for more mica. And once I've done the entire mould in the same way, it did take me a little time, this is what you get at the end. Now, as it stands, it's really pretty, but I want to back this with black, and I don't want the black to show through the areas where there's no mica. So I'm going to colour those rubbed off areas with silver. This should give me a completely contrasting colour when it's turned out of the mould, and hopefully will create impact. As you can see, this has the pattern on both the inside and the outside. Sometimes when you do patterns on moulds, you'll only see it on the outside. The inside will be plain or simple. This is going to give you a pattern on the inside as well as the outside, and I really like that idea. And I also made sure I got that pattern right in the crease, because that will be the rim of the bowl, and I want the pattern there too. It also occurred to me that I could make sticky shapes, and say for instance I made a sticky triangle, I could make loads of different triangles on the same piece. But you can see that the silver is filling in the gaps that have been taken off by the tape. This is what the colour is going to look like when it is turned out. And because the blue and the silver are so different, it's going to be quite dramatic, I think. I blow off the excess away from my work area, and at this time I am absolutely loving this effect. There are a couple of tiny areas that are rubbed away, but I don't think it will detract from the pattern that's overall on this piece, so I'm going to leave them where they are, and I'm going to turn the mould back in the right way. Now, because I've got gloved hands and they're already covered in powder, I'm not going to rub off any of that pattern with my gloves. It's going to work perfectly well. Trust me, I've done this before. But before I do that, I clean off the circular base. This circular area is the inside of the bowl, and I'm going to put something there. I've decided to use a stencil in the bottom. This is a stencil I've cut out of plastic. Now, this is the type of plastic that sticks really well to silicone. Now, when I say stick, it's not sticky, but it kind of grips onto silicone. There's no stickiness to it, but it's got something in it that attracts it to silicone, and it doesn't move. The normal standard stencil type plastic doesn't stick very well, but this stuff does. I got it from AliExpress, and I will link it in the description box below. It's described as clear transparent PVC vinyl fabric soft glass cloth. That's what it's sold as, and supposedly it's for making bows and handbags. And I cut this out using the X-Tool M1 Ultra, though I'm sure you could probably use a Cricut. This is a design that I got from Creative Fabrica. I go on there quite a lot to get designs and I love this. I fell in love with it. So I downloaded the file and I put it through onto the X-Tool and it cut it out of this plastic. I'm going to stick to the same colours here, blue and silver. I'm going to do the dark blue by patting on top of the stencil, and then the silver will be where the stencil lines are, if you see what I mean. I'm not going to change that at all. There's only two colours in this make, blue and silver. I want it to be plain and simple but striking at the same time. So I'm dabbing the blue mica on top of the stencil. Because this plastic doesn't go anywhere, I know it's not going to go underneath. It's not going to bleed underneath the stencil. And again, like I said, this stuff is brilliant for stencils. Thinking about it now, there's nothing to stop you using a Cricut and cutting out sticker paper, because I think sticker paper would do the same thing as a stencil. You could stick it onto the silicone mould and then remove it once you've got your colours placed. Now, I haven't tried that, it's just come to me, and I'm wondering whether it would work. As long as the sticker paper isn't too flimsy, I think it would work quite well. I do then grab the silver. Now, at this point, I don't blow off the excess powder, because if I did, it would go around the outside edge, and because it's the way that the mould is shaped, it would be very difficult to clean under that lip. Only after doing the silver do I blow the excess off. I would risk losing some of my design on the outside edge. So I didn't blow off the excess. I went over with the silver on the outside edge before I took the stencil off. And then when I took the stencil off, I just dabbed the silver in the places that needed it. Now here's hindsight for you. These powders do slightly interact with each other. And the silver on top of the blue could be seen from the outside when demolded. So, although it doesn't change the colour very much, I would suggest if you're going to do this, go over the entire thing. Like I did with the outside edge, do it on picture as well, because you can actually see where the two colours are on top of each other when it's finished. So now it's time to make the resin. I'm using Let's Resin 2-part epoxy and I'm using their mixer to mix it up. Now it does say quite clearly on the mould that it's 11 fluid ounces, and I actually made up 12 because any leftover resin will go into one of my leftover resin jars. Once it's been through the mixer, then you've got to scrape those sides and bottom with a stick. Do it very carefully so that you don't add any bubbles, because you need to get all the unmixed resin mixed as well. I then put it in my debubbling machine for 9 minutes, which I find is perfect for this resin at room temperature. I do like filming the debubbling, so I put this on a time-lapse video. It's fun to watch, in my opinion. When it comes out of the bubble removing machine, I squirt it with isopropyl alcohol to get rid of surface bubbles that haven't quite dissipated, and the isopropyl alcohol breaks the surface tension and let those bubbles come out as well. Now I'm going to colour the resin black, and to do that I'm going to use the Let's Resin Black pigment. It's a paste pigment, so it's quite thick. It's quite difficult to squeeze out of the bottle, and because it's quite paste-like, you need to mix it in a small amount of resin to get it completely mixed before you put it into a large amount. If you don't do that, you could end up with lumps of colour that haven't mixed properly. So mix it in a small amount of resin, add a little bit more, get it all nice and mixed before you pour it into the large amount of resin. That way you're guaranteed not to get those lumps of paste that haven't mixed properly. And having done it once before myself, I know that they sink to the bottom and they remain sticky, which isn't nice. But that's the same with mica as well. Some micas don't mix very well, and it's always best to mix them in a small cup and then add them to the large amount so that you've got it mixed well. Once I'm happy that it's mixed up completely, I add it to the large amount, that is the 12 fluid ounces that I've made, and then I'm ready to pour into the mould. Now with this mould, it's got quite a large lip on it, and the lip is very close to the base. So you have to be quite patient pouring the resin into this mould because it takes a little time to sink around the outside edges, and it is good to squeeze the bottom. Now because I've got all the pattern on the edge, I didn't want to squeeze it too much, but I did want to shimmy and shake it to make sure all those bubbles that were stuck at the bottom, if there were any, could have the chance to get out. I then squirted it with the isopropyl alcohol on the top to let those bubbles release. I did pour a little bit too much resin in here, and when you squirt it with isopropyl alcohol, it will try to escape. So I did have to take out a tiny bit of resin to let it cure without spilling over the edge. So the following day I can demold, and I am really excited to see this one. I do really like making large bowls, and because this is only 11 fluid ounces, it's going to be solid, but it's not going to break the bank with the amount of resin you have to pour in it. I released the size. I'm not going to use isopropyl alcohol because this resin mould is really supple and easy to demold. I just had to get the lip over the edge, and then it pretty much just came out nicely. I am really excited. I can see the pattern. You can see the pattern through the mould, and I just think this texture idea has so many possibilities. This resin was quite soft. It'd only be curing for about 18 hours. And with my hands, I was pushing it slightly out of shape, but it went back into shape afterwards. It wasn't a problem at all. The walls of this mould are quite thin. That's why you don't need a lot of resin. But they're high. And oh my goodness, look at that. I was blown away. I absolutely love it. The holographic silver, it just shines through this dark royal blue. The cat, the leopard in the bottom is just gorgeous, and it came out just how I wanted it to. I did go on and put cork on the bottom to give it a nice base once I'd trimmed up the sides to get rid of all the sharp edges. But I absolutely adore this. I love the fact the pattern is on the inside as well as the outside, and you don't have to go right the way around a bowl. You could stop halfway and have half one pattern and half another. It just opens up the door to so many things. But you can see here where the silver is behind the blue, and that is why I'm saying dust the whole thing, including over the top of the blue. It will keep it a more uniform colour, but I really do love how this turned out. I can definitely see variations of this in my future with purple and red and all sorts of pictures in the middle, and some with tattoos, and some with silk screens, and some with stickers. My imagination is going wild. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this video, and I hope that you've got something out of it. Don't forget to hit that thumbs up button. That really helps my channel out. Anyway, come back and see me next week, because you never know what I'm going to be up to. I never know what I'm going to be up to. Have a great week. Happy crafting, and bye for now.